I love that we got actual numbers where he made 700 calls. He made 9 hot leads, and he's got 1 deal so far, maybe 2 or 3 others, because that math helps beginners make sure they're doing enough calls, enough appointments before they feel discouraged and quit too soon. So this podcast, we help you guys 10x your W-2 income and replace that job through real estate investing. My name's David Lecco. I created the software platform DealMachine that's helped over 10,000 people close their first real estate deal and change their lives in all 50 states.
Yeah, my name is Ryan Haywood. I started wholesaling back in 2019. I've gone on to do over 450 transactions in wholesale and have built my own portfolio to 60 properties using the BRRRR strategy.
What's the BRRRR strategy? Oh, good question. Stands for buy, renovate, rent, refinance, and repeat. So instead of making $15,000 on a quick wholesale transaction, the BRRRR strategy may let you make $70,000, but it may take 6 months for you to renovate that property in the meantime. So those are the two differences. We hope you guys enjoy this episode. That was so thoughtful of you to put that hat on.
Hey, I wear this hat every day.
Hey, how'd you get that hat?
I think I did an interview with DealMachine, and they sent it to me.
Okay, cool. And you didn't throw it in the trash. That must mean you kind of like the hat.
Oh yeah, dude, I've had over the past years, I have finessed my way to get like 6 of these things. So yeah, I wear them all the time.
Well, since we did that last interview, I thought it would be a good idea to check in, because the first one was so good, on how things have been going for you. So are you still doing real estate deals?
Oh yeah, I'm still doing deals and I'm still working this dialer you guys have. Man, it's been pretty great. So you guys brought the dialer out like 2 months ago now?
Yeah, July, correct.
Yeah, so I've been crushing it, like just, single dialing and really working these leads. And I wanted to just give you guys some tips, like the people listening, if that's okay.
For sure. Were you using a double line or triple line before?
Yeah, I was using a triple line.
Cool. How does it compare? Just honestly.
I love the triple line, but it really helps that, the dialer is right into my system, so that makes everything easier.
So you probably like the triple line because you spend less time in between conversations, right?
Yeah.
Got it. But the DealMachine dialer has been doing like 25% connection rate to properties called on, which is probably more than a triple line was doing, if I would guess.
Oh yeah, I'm having great connection rates, and I think you really got, like, I love the data. I think you guys really, like, people who are calling these lists, they really need to work these associated contacts though. Like, you might call people and they might say, no, you don't have the right number, or that, but you really kind of got to dig a little deeper sometimes. Like if I hear somebody say, no, I'm not the owner, I'm like, okay, well, who are you then? Like, how are you associated with this address? And I try to get more information out of them, because I find that a lot of the best leads come from like people who's renting the place or somebody who's not even the owner, and then they connect me with the owner. You know what I mean?
Got it. So that's really interesting. So whenever I select properties and I say, let me dial all 100 of these properties, it typically will go through all the associated contacts, right?
Yeah.
And so that's what you're saying, is make sure you do that.
Yeah, make sure that when you're calling these people, when they tell you no, that you dig a little bit deeper, because a lot of the times they know what you're talking about. That they might not be the owner, and they might be answering you like, no, I'm not the owner. But a lot of people just say, okay, thank you, bye, click. Don't do that. Dig a little bit deeper, find out who they are and why you're calling them.
Right. One of my favorite questions is, okay, no problem. Your answer. Hey, just real quick before you go, do you know of any like rundown houses around the neighborhood? But you're saying you have a different question that kind of asks them, hey, by the way, what do you ask them actually to dig deeper like that?
Yeah, so let's say somebody says, I hear in their voice that they know what I'm talking about, but they might just think it's a weird call, and they're telling me no. I'm like, oh, okay then. Well, I guess I'm just gonna keep trying to call this owner because I'm really interested in buying it. You wouldn't happen to know why your number would even be associated with this address, would you?
And then they say, yes, I'm
Not
actually
always.
living there. Yeah.
Sometimes, yeah, they'll be like, well, I'm actually renting this place. And I'm like, oh, that's cool, because I'm actually looking for properties I can rent out. Like, I'm not looking to live in this property. I'm just looking to rent it out. Do you think the landlord would be interested?
Oh
And then
yeah.
they'll be like, well, maybe. And now that they feel like I'm not trying to kick them out of the house, they
Right.
might be willing to work with me and give me the landlord's number.
Especially if they don't love their landlord and they might like you
Yes.
better.
And 9 times out of 10, that's how it is. They're like, please buy this place and take care of it.
So you actually said you've been crushing it. Can you give us any highlights of like any deals that you've done or results that you've gotten?
Okay, so right now, let me get on here real quick. Hold on.
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, so let's look at this week, because I don't do it like cold calling is not a main source of my deals. I do direct mail, I do PPL. Cold calling is just for boredom for me, pretty much. When I'm bored, not doing anything. So this week I've did 720 calls. I've got 9 warm leads out of that, a 20% contact rate, and I've had 52 people tell me no. So out of the 9 people, I'm actually going tomorrow, and I'm getting one under contract. Like, we've already agreed on price. I just got to look at it. You get what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I feel like these leads are really good, and I've been skip tracing, for years now, for 6 years, and I'm just really happy with my deal machine right now. I think you guys are doing a great job.
Thank you so much, man. Have you by chance used that magnifying glass next to the owner's name? Do you know what I'm talking about?
No, I don't know what you're talking about.
So if you have a property that doesn't have contact info pre-matched, which we know currently happens for about 20% of the properties. So glad the ones that are matched are very accurate is what you're saying.
Yeah.
You can actually click the magnifying glass. It'll show you everyone with that owner's name in the whole country. So, I mean, you're going to find the right person. I mean, they're all right there ordered in the order we think that they are likely the owner. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, that's awesome. I did not know that.
It's a very small magnifying glass. That's why I wanted to bring it up. But back to what you said earlier, this one lead, you said you have made 700 calls. I'm guessing it took 3-4 hours of calling when you were bored. I like
Yeah.
that. It's good use of time. You said you came upon a price before you even saw the property. How did you do that?
Yeah, so I bought houses in this area before, and I kind of use that to my advantage. And I got as much intellectual detail as I could from him on the condition of the place. It's filled with junk, so I know typically what it's going to cost me to clean it out. What I'm going to do with it. So I just used my other property as an example. I said, hey, look, this house was in great shape. I paid this much for it, so I would have to be at a really good price. And he's like, oh, well, I wouldn't want anywhere close to that price. And I was like, oh, well, what price would you want? And he was like, I would want like probably not even half of it. You just got to come look. And I was like, well, I don't really have to come look. I know, what I'm doing pretty much. And I got a little bit more information, and then I just looked at what I paid for the other one. I looked at what I sold it for, and that's how I got my comp. I just used the property that I recently bought.
Yeah, it's really easy when it's a similar property in the same area.
Yeah, it's literally right down the street. So it was really cool to get this lead. I have, and his grandpa has a house too that's like right beside it, so I might be able to buy that one as well. I haven't really got to talk to his grandpa yet. I'm waiting to look at this one. He's going to meet there too. So it'll be fun.
Cool. What are you doing with these properties? Say just right next to one you did already. So, are you kind of building a portfolio? Or are you doing flips or wholesaling?
So what I'm doing 9 times out of 10 right now is what I call the auction method. And what we do here is in these local small areas, you're seeing a lot of auctioneers and auctions. So what these auctioneers do, they're brokers, right? But they're not doing the traditional sell of putting a sign in your yard and putting it on the market. They're putting a sign in the yard, putting it on the market, but then they're having an auction date. So they develop a bunch of interest, run a bunch of ads, and they get all these buyers to come in at once, and they bid to the top dollar, right? So I've been supplying the auction with houses. It's kind of like, instead of digging for gold, supply the shovel, right? So that's what I've been doing a lot lately. So I'll buy it, I'll get it at a really good price, I sign it up for the auction, and within 45 days, we auction it off and we sell it to the highest bidder.
Wow. And then who are all the people that come to your auction?
Oh, people from all over the country, because they do it online too. So you got people from California, Texas, all these out of state buyers that come in, look for cheap property, and they overpay compared to most local people.
Uh-huh. Yeah, it's easy to do that when you're like in California. You're not aware that you could buy a whole home for $40,000.
Yes. Yes.
So, um, well, do you list it on an auction website, or are you saying you built your own private list?
No, so I have an auctioneer that I use. He's an agent, and they put this thing on the MLS. So it's setting on the MLS
Oh,
while it's
highest
waiting
and
for
best.
auction.
Highest and best. Hmm.
Yep.
What kind of condition are those houses in?
It's as is condition. So, it can be, I've seen them go, most of the ones that we do, they're as is, meaning they need repair. They need, it's usually just a clean out, put right on the market.
Got it. And they leave it open for 45 days, you said?
Yeah, it's usually about 45 days. And within that 45 days, I can get offers. Like, people can feel free to give me whatever offer they want, and I can say yay, or I'm going to the auction.
Got it. Well, that puts you in a prime position. You can
Oh,
kind of
I
do what
love
you
it.
want. Yeah.
And the auctioneer that I built a relationship with, like, we have such a strong relationship. If I'm at a house right now, I can literally take pictures and send it to him and be like, "Hey, what do you think this could auction for?" So
Yeah.
I pretty know my buy box is pretty strong.
Hey, Ryan, have you ever heard of an auctioneer type setup like that before?
No, but
Yeah, me neither.
I'm interested in it. I don't know that I kind of want to learn how to be an auctioneer myself, so I don't have to hire an
Yeah,
auctioneer.
yeah. They get They get so you pay them a very small fee up front to set your reserve. So I can say I don't want it to go below a certain price. But after that, you don't pay them anything. The buyer pays them like a 10% premium on top of the auction price. So that's where they make their money.
When do you do the auction? Is there a day that is it a Saturday? Is it you do it during the week? Like what's the method?
Yeah, so they just do so many of these, they put you in line. So it could be Monday through Friday. I don't know if they do weekends. I'm sure they do. I mean, they just have so much activity. It's nonstop.
They talk real fast.
Oh, I mean, really fast. And there's some characters, I tell you.
How many people do you usually get to show up? Like how many people do you typically see bidding on a property?
Oh, it just depends on the area, the property. I've had them, where I've had everybody in the neighborhoods outside watching. Then I've had them where everybody's online bidding.
Mm.
Okay. Wow. Okay. So how do you prevent somebody from saying yes, I'll take it, and then they don't pay? How do you do?
Well, they
Because
pay
then,
that 10% buyer's premium. So if they don't pay, they're losing that money. It's non-refundable, and that's 10% of the purchase price.
so they've put in a deposit in order to get the privilege of bidding.
Yeah, yeah. And so far I've never had it happen where, I've had it where it might have got extended a little bit, due to financing, whatever it might be, but I've always had it closed. I mean, I'm
Hmm.
sure eventually anything could happen.
That's cool, man. That's
That
really
is
cool.
cool.
Now, at the beginning of this call, I got excited about that. You actually said you had some more tips, I think, for the dialer. Did you get through those, or did you have more tips that you could share with us?
I think my biggest tip for the dialer is to make sure that you got those calls forwarded to your phone, right? And answer when they call. And don't overthink it. Don't be like, "Well, I don't know who this person is. I don't even know what house I was calling about." Just play it cool. Like, for example, when somebody calls me back and they're like, "Hey, I got a missed call from this number." I might say, "Oh, well, this is Travis Goodwin. I'm not really sure. Maybe I had the wrong number. Is this about a house? This isn't about real estate, right?" So that's kind of like what I like to do.
You got to get that call.
No, you're good. That's a business partner.
Oh, okay.
Um, yeah, yeah. But so that's all it is I just make sure that, hey, is this about real estate? Do you have a house for sale? And you'd be surprised how many people will just have a conversation with me when I do it like that.
Hmm. Man, you're really smooth. How'd you develop that kind of charisma? You just like were you born with it, or did you take a class, or how would you instruct somebody who's feeling like they're not so smooth on the phone and they're kind of scared of having those conversations?
Oh man, I've had so many conversations with people.
So basically just do it and you'll get better is what you're saying.
Yeah, and do it everywhere you go. Like, oh, I'm in Walmart, you see somebody greeting you, compliment them, talk to them. Talk to everybody that you can and tell them what you do. Tell them that, you're out here buying houses and you can help people, and I feel like as long as you just keep putting yourself out there and you keep talking to people, your inner self is going to come out because everybody has, maybe not everybody, but most people have that charisma inside them.
Mm. And charisma is kind of even just paying attention to them, looking them in the eye.
Mm-hmm. Listening.
Yeah. It does seem like a mystical thing that's hard to obtain, but it's really like 6 things. It's like shake their hand, look at them in the face, say their name if they
Yeah.
tell you their name. Yeah, listen when they talk. It's so funny when you're at you said Walmart. So often I'm just like in my phone when I'm walking into a store,
Yeah.
So it's really just like, hey, put that away and look at who's greeting you.
Yeah, exactly.
Any other tips that you have when making phone calls to real estate owners?
I mean, I could keep going all day, I think that you really just got to make the calls. Don't overthink it and ask more questions that will lead to an emotional response instead of an intellectual response. So
Mm.
when you're asking questions about the house, the repairs, and all these things that need done, that leads to an intellectual answer, which, isn't always the best. But an emotional answer will get more out of them. And once they are emotionally involved, they're going to be more willing to talk with you and work out a deal. Definitely
Hmm.
when you can provide a solution.
It's a really good tip because I was walking through a house with a new wholesaler here in Austin, and the guy was saying his mom's house has sat vacant for 2 years. They haven't been able to sell it because she had a $15,000 dinner plate collection, specialized plates, and they hadn't found a buyer for it until recently. And then the person I was with, they kind of just moved on and started asking about the chimney. And I was like, hey, you should ask about those plates. Like,
Yeah.
obviously, that really mattered to his mom. And so it's not obvious. I'm really glad you mentioned that. But when there's a window, a gift like that, where they share something, kind of just ask. I'm naturally curious, so I want to know anyway. But I guess not everybody is quite that curious, but it really matters.
Yeah.
The plates
And
had
be
nothing to do with the deal, but it was kind of cool, obviously, to ask and learn more about it.
Yeah, and be extra curious, right? Like when you ask a question and they give you an answer, dig a little bit deeper. Ask the question 3 different times in 3 different ways. You know what I mean? Get as much out of them as you can about it.
Mm-hmm. One thing you said was you did 700 calls, you got 9 leads. How many of those leads would you say would turn into like an opportunity, like an actual deal that you'd close?
I'm thinking that right now I'm already got one that, I mean, it's not a contract, so I can't say it's a contract, but it's already going to be one. And I'm
Yeah.
working on 3 or 4 other people right now I just got to get into the house.
Yeah.
You know, when you deal with probates, inherited houses, sometimes it just takes a little bit more time. You can't always lock it up today, even though we all want to.
Yep. So the reason why I say that is because this new wholesaler was getting discouraged after we went on 4 appointments and she didn't get a deal. Kind of did a random poll in the DealMachine Facebook group, but some people said it takes an average of like 10 appointments that they would go
Okay.
on before they got one that was a deal. So just wanted to share some of those
Yeah.
metrics because sometimes our own emotions can make us think, oh, well, we just are doing something wrong. We can't get it done, when really you just got to keep doing the same thing more.
Yeah.
And then I guess let's wrap things up because I know your business partner's wanting to get a hold of you. I noticed you're in the car today. Are you on your way to an appointment, or where are you headed after this?
Yeah, I got an appointment here in the next hour or so. I'm actually meeting with a tenant, so it should be fun.
Okay. Well, that's great. It's always fun when you're meeting with a tenant.
Yeah, definitely. I appreciate you guys so much, and if Anybody ever has any questions and want to talk, I don't charge for a free, it's just a conversation. You can call me 304-444-6744. I just hope to keep coming back on here and talking with you guys.
Let's get it booked. I'd love to check in maybe in a month or so. That would be really great.
Awesome. And hey, I definitely need that affiliate link. I've been having people ask me, and I'm sending people over to you, but I don't have no link.
Okay, I'll get you set up with Matt Camp on our team. He's the head of partnerships.
Okay.
And so I'm going to group text you guys now after this.
Awesome. Thank you, man.
Thank you,
Appreciate
Travis.
Y'all
Appreciate
have a
it.
good one.
Best of
See
luck
ya.
with the meeting. Bye-bye.
All right, bye.
Thanks for listening to the DealMachine Real Estate Investing Podcast. Please leave us a review and follow along wherever you're listening to your podcast.